Have you ever rehearsed a conversation with your parents in your head? A simple two-letter word, a firm but gentle no, only to find that word dissolving on your tongue when the moment comes? Have you felt it replaced by a reluctant yes, followed by that familiar, sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach? Why does a boundary, a fundamental component of a healthy identity, feel like an act of betrayal? What is that invisible force, that powerful ancient gravity, that pulls you back into the orbit of the obedient child, even as a full-grown, capable adult? This conflict is not a simple disagreement. It's a storm within the psyche. It carries the metallic taste of unspoken words, the heavy weight of unfulfilled needs. It is the profound, almost primal guilt that surfaces when you dare to prioritize your own well-being, your own path, your own peace. A voice whispers from a deep and old place that you are being selfish, ungrateful, a bad son, a bad daughter. But the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, a master architect of the soul, understood this struggle intimately. He knew it wasn't a sign of your failure. He saw it as a critical, necessary threshold you must cross on the journey he called individuation. Individuation is the lifelong process of becoming your true individual self. It is a sacred and often difficult pilgrimage toward becoming a whole, complete being. Distinct from the tidal pull of the expectations of your parents and the pressures of society, Jung understood that this isn't a battle fought over Sunday dinner or during a holiday phone call. It is a profound architectural project undertaken within the vast, silent cathedral of your own mind. And today, we will give you the blueprint to understand why saying no feels so impossible. We must first understand the invisible chains that bind us. The primary chain is forged from guilt. Guilt, in this context, is not just a feeling. It is a psychological mechanism. It is the ghost of our childhood dependency, a constant whispering reminder of the sacrifices our parents made. They fed us, clothed us, protected us. In our earliest consciousness, our survival was inextricably linked to their happiness and approval. As we grow, this survival instinct morphs into a deeply ingrained sense of duty. We become conditioned to see their happiness as our direct responsibility, and our differing needs as a threat to that fragile ecosystem. Guilt becomes the currency of obligation, a debt we feel we can never fully repay. Beneath that thick layer of guilt lies its raw and powerful source, fear. It is not one fear, but a host of them. It is the fear of disappointing the two people who were once our entire world. It is the fear of igniting a conflict that could shatter the family peace. It is the fear of hearing those cutting words, "After all I've done for you." But deepest of all, it is the primal, childlike terror of being emotionally abandoned. The fear that if we reveal our true, separate self, with our own distinct needs and boundaries, we will no longer be loved. That the unconditional love we crave will be revealed as conditional, after all, predicated on our compliance. And this is where Jung's toolkit becomes essential. He teaches us that we are often not fighting with the real, flawed human people who raised us. We are wrestling with the gods they represent inside of us. We are fighting the parental archetype. Within our psyche, our mother and father are more than people. They are our first concepts of the feminine and the masculine, of authority, of nurture, of power. They are godlike effigies installed in our minds when we were too young to see them as anything else. So when you try to set a boundary with your very human mother, your psyche can interpret it as a blasphemous act against the archetype of mother itself. It feels so profoundly wrong because, on an unconscious level, you are challenging a primordial force within your own soul to interface with this internal world. We develop what Jung called the persona. The persona is the mask we wear to be accepted by society. For many of us, the first and most important mask we ever create is that of the good, dutiful child. This mask is useful. It brings us praise. It keeps the peace. It ensures our place within the family unit. But we can wear this mask for so long that we forget it is a mask. We mistake it for our actual face. Saying no is a terrifying act because it means taking the mask off. It is a declaration that you, the true self, exists separately from the role you have been playing. And it brings with it the terrifying risk that this true self, with its own inconvenient needs and desires, might not be as loved as the mask was. So what happens to all the frustration, the anger, the quiet resentment from every single time you bit your tongue and said yes when your soul was screaming no? It doesn't just vanish. It is repressed. It is shoved down into the dark, unlit basement of your psyche that Jung called the shadow. The shadow is the repository of all the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable. And for the good child, resentment and anger are certainly unacceptable. But this shadow content is not inert. It is a living, breathing energy. It builds pressure. It seeks expression. This is why a person who can never say no might be prone to passive-aggressive behavior, unexplained depression, or sudden volcanic outbursts of rage over something trivial. It is the shadow, starved for acknowledgement, finally kicking down the door to ignore this inner work. To continue a life of unindividuation is to accept a devastating cost. It is to live a life dictated by the needs of others. It is the career you chose for their approval, the partner you stayed with to keep the peace, the city you live in out of obligation. It is the slow, methodical erasure of the self. You risk becoming a ghost in your own existence, your own life story written in someone else's handwriting. The relationship with your parents, which you tried so hard to preserve through compliance, becomes brittle. Built not on authentic connection, but on a fragile foundation of unspoken truths and hidden resentments. It is a love poisoned by its own lack of honesty. But it is right here, at this point of painful recognition, that the true turning point lies. Jung offers us a profound reframe. Setting a boundary is not an act of rejection, but an act of definition. It is not an act of aggression, but an act of clarity. You are not pushing your parents away. You are creating a healthy, defined space where an authentic, adult-toured, adult relationship can finally be born. It is the necessary prerequisite for genuine love, which cannot flourish in the suffocating soil of obligation. It is not about building a wall to keep them out. It is about drawing a clear property line to respectfully invite them into a new, healthier territory where you can meet as equals. The path forward, then, is not through external confrontation, but through internal architectural work. The first step is always consciousness. It is learning to distinguish the voice of the internalized parent in your head from the quiet, true voice of your own intuition. It's the practice of asking, is this my desire or is this my programming? Is this my need or is this my fear? The next step is as courageous as it is necessary. You must be willing to face your own shadow. You must turn towards the resentment you have stored away. The goal is not to act it out, but to listen to it. Understand that your anger, your frustration, is not a sign that you are a bad person. It is a valid, vital signal from your deepest self that a boundary has been crossed. Your resentment is a compass. It is pointing directly to the places where a wall of self-respect needs to be built. This allows you to redefine your understanding of honor. The greatest honor you can pay to the people who gave you life is to live that life fully, vibrantly, and authentically. You do not honor their sacrifice by sacrificing your own soul in return. You honor them by taking the gift of life they gave you and building something true and beautiful with it, becoming the person you were meant to be. Let us be clear. This path is not easy. It will cause tremors. When you begin to change the unspoken rules of the family dynamic, there will be resistance, both internal and external. Your parents, accustomed to the old dance, may react with confusion, hurt, anger, or even more potent attempts at guilt-tripping. They are not necessarily malicious. You are simply changing a system they have understood for your entire life. And you, in turn, will feel a tidal wave of guilt. This is the withdrawal from the drug of approval. This discomfort is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is the inevitable friction of growth. It is the sound of your true self breaking through a lifetime of conditioning. It is the sound of your liberation. By walking this path, you move toward the ultimate promise of individuation, wholeness. You begin to build a relationship with your parents based not on childish obligation, but on mutual adult respect. More importantly, you cultivate a sense of inner authority and self-trust. You learn to source your validation from within. The profound peace that comes from living a life aligned with your own core values is immeasurable. You cease to be merely a product of your upbringing and finally become the conscious architect of your own mind, your own choices, and your own life. If these explorations into the architecture of your mind resonate with you, ensure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future deep dives. And now, a question for you to reflect upon. What is one small boundary you are now ready to consider, not as an act of rebellion, but as an act of self-respect? Share your commitment in the comments below. Your journey can inspire others. To build your own life, you must first be willing to define your own property line. The work is not easy, but the freedom is absolute.